And we are rolling. And we are rolling on Halloween, October 31st, 2017, where it's a gloomy day in Los Angeles. The sunshine is not shining. We're very sad about that. I'm sad to report. We're about to hear a stump speech from Pauline D. The question, will Iran adhere to the Iran nuclear deal? I repeat, will Iran adhere to the Iran nuclear deal? Who's timing? Not you.
It.
No, you're doing the other time. Who's timing? Any time? Yeah. Go.
Hi everybody, I'm Pauline and I will be answering the question that Professor Miller just said out loud.
Great.
Death to America, death to Israel. The Americans think they have stopped Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. They know this is not true. These words were spoken from Iran's Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, only a short few days after the Iran nuclear deal was negotiated. What is the deal? In short, the Iran nuclear deal, also known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, is an international agreement between Iran and the 6 world powers. The negotiation was adopted around October of 2015 during the Obama administration. The deal prohibits Iran from, under the deal, Iran will not develop weapons-grade plutonium, and they must dismantle or remove their core reactor of their nuclear facility in Iraq. Iran will reduce the number of its operating centrifuges by 2/3 and eliminate 98% of its enriched uranium. Additionally, and probably most importantly, this deal gives international inspectors unprecedented access to Iranian nuclear facilities and the entire supply chain. So question, will Iran adhere to this nuclear deal? Today I want to answer the question by saying yes, Iran will adhere to this deal, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. Betraying this deal risks Iran's severe and destructive retaliation, nuclear escalation, and economic turmoil. Before I elaborate on these 3 points, it is important for me to tell you why this is significant. The Anti-Defamation League states that nuclear weapons in the hands of the Iranian regime will serve repercussions for American security and the security of its allies. Iran is a prominent sponsor of state terrorism. If they were to get a hold of nuclear weapons, they would without a doubt use their arsenal on... Oh,
he's timing.
Oh, okay.
2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes past.
Sorry.
You have 3 left.
Arsenal without a doubt, and use it against Israel and us Americans, or as they refer to us as the Great Satan. To quote Iran's chief of state, we are ready for decisive battle against America and the Zionist regime. The first reason why I believe Iran will adhere to this deal is because by violating it, they risk severe retaliation by the world powers. Iran would have to figure that ending its cooperation could provoke an even stronger response by the U.S. And in the background of all of this is the threat of U.S. or even Israeli airstrikes, an option that can further inflame the Middle East. Attacks can range from airstrikes and missiles and even more conventional types of warfare, and these are all attacks that Iran may not necessarily have enough power to counter immediately. The second reason I am convinced as to why Iran will not violate this deal is because in doing so it risks nuclear retaliation and escalation. Any prohibited nuclear activity discovered in Iran by the IAEA, or International Atomic Energy Agency, risks the P5+1 using instant nuclear powers to retaliate as they seem fit. Iran then would not have enough time or resources to fight back. And according to Obama, this deal ensures that Iran's breakout time in acquiring a nuclear weapon is at least a year. With that said, Iran will not have enough time to assemble and discharge a nuclear weapon without getting caught and getting nuked themselves first. The last and most prominent reason Iran will adhere to this Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action is to prevent snapback sanctions. Iran will get relief from certain U.S. and UN sanctions, and the relief will be phased in as Iran meets its end of the bargains. If Iran violates the deal, those sanctions will be restored. And just to quote former President Obama again, if Iran violates its commitments, there will be real consequences. Nuclear-related sanctions that have helped to cripple the Iranian economy will snap back into place. In summary, if the deal stays in its original content, Iran will be very reluctant to violate it because it risks them retaliation, nuclear escalation, and economic turmoil. There should be no doubt in this room that any deviant behavior from the deal can result in negative consequences for all parties. If Iran is given the opportunity, they will acquire nuclear weapons, they will bring death to America, and they will bring death to Israel. Thank you.
What was the time?
4:29.
4:29. What'd you like? Let's start in the rear. Quickly, stand up, say your name, say a positive comment.
Hi, I'm Chloe.
Hi, Chloe.
I thought all the information and the evidence that you had was really helpful, as a reader. I mean, not a reader, as a audience member who maybe didn't know that much about the topic, and you had a lot of conviction in the way you spoke. And so I think those two combined made it a very easy speech to listen to, and also it was persuasive in the way you approached it with good vocal production.
Improvement.
Hi, I'm Elise.
What's your name?
I thought.
What's your name?
Elise.
Elise. Hi, Elise.
I thought at the beginning you spent a little bit too much time explaining what the nuke deal was, and then kind of left you with a little bit of time to experiment towards the end. But I liked how you introduced it because
Pauline, how much time do I have?
like
How much?
3 minutes.
Wow. I liked your speech. You answered the question, will Iran adhere to the Iran nuclear deal? There's been the one concern I have is, as you know, President Trump has some real concerns about
I have that in there, but I
Iran compliance, but it's not really. Yeah, but it's not really completely relevant to Iran adhering to the nuclear deal. So you kind of got away with it. I agree with Elise that your overview and it was top heavy, and we didn't get to the meat of your speech by you giving us too much background in the beginning. Death to America, death to Israel. Like to have just a better, more vivid, death to America, death to Israel, vivid tie back. You did say if Iran's given an opportunity, they will bring death to America and death to Israel. I would have liked your quotes were you had some stuff from 2017, but from the Anti-Defamation League, but some of it was 2015. I'd like to see you really update this. The one concern, give me a countdown, 2 minutes, 30 seconds? Yeah. I can talk to you about this further after class if you want to talk about it. The one thing that I think is problematic is that they're not allowing the IAEA really full access, and they're kind of cheating, they're fudging on that. I want you to urge you to read less and to make better eye contact, know your speech, and speak extemporaneously. Walk 3 times, left, right, center. Sometimes you were off grammar because you were walking so much, so walk more purposely. Thank you, Pauline. Okay, who's next? Kelsey?
Yep.
Good old Kelsey.
4 minutes left. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 1.
Left?
Left.
Okay.
Well, Kelsey, you're who's doing it for you? You'll do it for her?
I think generally just a speech, comments, 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay, rock and roll, Kelsey. Kelsey stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front and center, say your name, feel the love, start your speech, which will be a speech on how effective was President Trump during the first 100 days in office. I repeat, how effective was President Trump during his first 100 days in office?
Hi, I'm Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
I have a question for you guys. So when you hear the names Michael Jordan, Elton John, or Robert De Niro, what are some key common characteristics that come to mind? Amazing. That's a great one. Perhaps some of you also thought successful. Each of these individuals are successful in their respective endeavors. But how do we know that? Well, success is the accomplishment of an aim. So quite simply, it's setting goals and achieving them. The reason for this evaluation of success is because I want to answer the question of whether or not Trump was effective during his first 100 days in office. Now, Oxford Dictionary defines being effective as being successful in producing an intended or desired result. So in order for us to determine President Trump's effectiveness, we need to have a uniform understanding of what it means to be successful. So utilizing the framework of setting goals and achieving them, the answer to the question at hand is no. President Trump was not effective in his first 100 days in office because he was unsuccessful in achieving his goals that he set in 3 major areas. The first being to clean up corruption in Washington, D.C., the second being to protect the American worker, and the third being to restore national security and constitutional law. So the reason that I wanted to discuss this with you today is because the decisions made by the Trump administration affect every single American citizen, including every single one of you. So it's important we stay up to date in policies and decisions made so we can act as informed and educated voters and advocates.
Good.
So with that in mind, by a raise of hands, how many people here have heard of Trump's contract with the American voter? Great. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, it's basically what Trump labeled his 100-day action plan. It was made in 2016, and it created the goals that he had for his first 100 days if elected into office. It's this contract that lays the foundation of my argument. This brings me to my first point. The first reason I believe President Trump was ineffective during his time in office, in his first 100 days in office, is because he failed to achieve his goals in cleaning up corruption in Washington, D.C. So some of the things he promised and outlined included creating a term limit for Congress, creating a federal hiring freeze, and limiting the number of federal regulations. In total, he outlined 6, so these were 3 among those. And in addition to this, he also outlined a piece of legislation called the Clean Up Corruption in Washington, D.C. Act. In total, 7 action plans he had for this specific category. Now, of these 7, he achieved 3, meaning he was unsuccessful in producing results in 4 of the 7. Does that sound like success to you?
No.
The second reason that I believe President Trump was ineffective during his first 100 days in office is because he failed to follow through with the action for protecting the American worker. Now, it is true that he withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership and allowed for energy infrastructure such as the Keystone Pipeline, but is that enough? Is it enough when he promised so much more? Some of these failed promises, as outlined in an article by The Economist in 2017, included his inability to label China as a currency manipulator, to withdraw or renegotiate NAFTA, and to take out climate change funding and apply it to American infrastructures. What we're seeing here is a continual, repetitive, we're seeing that Trump is unable to follow through with the action he promised in his action plan. This brings me to my third and final reason. It was his inability to achieve his goals in restoring national security and constitutional law. So what was left unfulfilled in this category? Well, to begin, within the first 100 days, he was unsuccessful in suspending funding to sanctuary cities and restricting immigration from terror-prone regions. Furthermore, in the action plan from 2016, he outlined 3 key pieces of policy relating to national safety and community safety, as well as illegal immigration. Of these 3 that he outlined, he achieved 0. That sounds like a lot of failure for someone who claims to be so successful. Now, I want to take a moment and say I'm not endorsing these policies. I'm setting my political bias aside and asking all of you to do the same, to evaluate not the policies, but whether or not President Trump was successful in producing an intended or desired result. We saw that he created an action plan where he set a variety of goals, and he failed to achieve a majority of them. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind that President Trump was ineffective in his first 100 days in office.
Individuals like Michael Jordan, Elton John, and Robert De Niro became successful because they achieved their goals, something President Trump cannot say he did within his first 100 days in office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What was the time?
4:47.
4:47. Excellent. What'd you like in the rear? Please go.
Hi, I'm Armand.
Hi, Armand.
Hi. I really liked your tempo and your inflection of speech. It wasn't just monotone or soft or always high. You ebbed and flowed and stuff, and that really kept the levels engaged. So that was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, vocal variety. Work on it, everyone. Work on high, low, pass, low. Because, there's nothing worse than a monotone to put an audience to sleep. Improvement, please.
Hi, I'm Armand.
Hi, Armand.
I don't know what to say. I think you were amazing, but I guess one thing that I didn't notice was dates for your sources, on October something 2016 on dates like this. So that's something.
Great. Thank you.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Something to add.
Okay, quickly.
I actually, there was one thing that I noticed about your speech that absolutely, I have to point out, is the fact that when you created a uniform judging mechanism and a weighing mechanism for how it is that you're going to go about answering a question, it, for me personally, not having any political, leanings, to keep that aside, into, in a utilitarian system, to create that weighing mechanism, I think really, really, really helped your case.
Thank you.
I think that was a really cool thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you keep it simple, and you present a criteria, and you met the criteria. Bada bing, bada bing. Give me a countdown for 3 minutes, please. Michael Jordan, Elton John, and Robert De Niro are not politicians, so I don't really buy your analogy.
Okay,
they're successful people,
I just thought it was
guess.
relatable. Everyone knows
So I would have been more impressed if you had presented Barack Obama and politicians, but it's kind of, it was a straw man because it's kind of tough what you set up for President Trump. I agree with the comment. Again, let's use that model that I showed over and over and ask you to watch. She fully cited her Washington Post, gave the full date, and so forth. Please do that, not just the footnotes down here, but okay, so better source citations would have been really helpful. You slipped a few times. For the most part, you were respectful and called him President Trump. I know it's hard. You slipped a few Trumps in there. Yeah, got him. Trump! I thought you were fairly fair-minded, as I guess Insia was pointing out, that you didn't set up this impossible thing that he could never have met. After all, these were his
own goals.
These were his own goals. It wasn't like you were setting up these things that were impossible for him to. Minute and a half? Okay. I thought your 3 reasons were good. I quibble a little bit about what he's doing with climate change and so forth, but I think he's really, really twisting people up there in that realm. On your 3rd reason, security and national constitutional rule of law, he really did increase the military budget. But on your summary, it was excellent. Your conclusion and tieback were all good. Your goals: present the speech confidently, speak at a good pace, not too fast or slow, and make good eye contact. Don't look down. How'd it go?
I think you were great.
Okay, it did, except for the fuller citations, and you had a little time, so please, everybody, give full citations orally. They can't read your footnotes. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Okay, Philip, come to the front. Steve,
Yes.
sit. You're sitting there. Okay. Oh, would you slide that way over? It's ruining my picture. Slide that podium way over. Yeah. What further? Further. All the way over, yeah, if you can, yeah. Good, thank you. Yeah, that's better. Thank you, yeah. That's better, thank you. Good, thank you. Okay, Philip stands before you. Managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally. Saying to himself, I respect my audience. Come a step forward, you look like you're afraid of your audience. Don't come any further forward than the brown box, sir. You got it? Okay. Philip Vu is going to address the question, is Twitter losing its relevance? Is Twitter losing its relevance?
So, since its conception in 2006, Twitter has changed the way we live, we interact, now we consume information. So, can I get a show of hands? How many of you guys use Twitter? Not very many. How many of you guys use Twitter every single day? Even less. Perfect. So, today I want to discuss whether Twitter is continuing to grow or whether it's starting to trail off. I personally believe that Twitter is beginning to lose relevance, and I'm going to provide you guys 3 reasons why Twitter is becoming the next MySpace. My 3 reasons are Twitter is no longer growing, Twitter is losing money, and Twitter's rivals are actually growing. So, my first reason is that Twitter is no longer gaining any monthly active users. So, TechCrunch on July 27, 2017 reports that Twitter has lost or stalled in its monthly active users this quarter. And it's the first time it has stalled ever in its history. Even though its users aren't gaining, it's actually losing users in the United States. And the reason why that's important is because Twitter actually gains most of its advertising revenue from advertisements in the United States. So less advertisement in the United States, or less users means less revenue. So that leads me to my second point. Twitter is losing money. With less advertisements or less people in the U.S. using Twitter, less money means less revenue. Investor Place reports that Twitter's revenue has dropped 8% in this first quarter of 2017. That's a big percentage. Because of this, its per user ad dollars has also decreased. And because of its per user ad dollars decreasing and its loss of revenue, Twitter has cut 350 of its workers, which is 10% of its working class. And that leads me to my final point. Twitter's biggest rivals are actually growing. And so Instagram is reported by CNBC on April 26, 2017 to gain 20% in its revenue in the first quarter of 2017. As I reported before, Twitter has decreased in 8%. Other statistics, Instagram has 1.94 billion monthly active users. Instagram has 800 billion.
Where are these at? Where's this evidence coming from? I just said I needed citations. Are you going to give me any?
I said CNBC about.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Twitter has 324 million monthly active users. Facebook has also added new features such as the Messenger support app in recent years and the trending news app to combat Twitter. And Instagram has also added new features such as smart browsing and also Messenger support. So, in summary, I've shown you 3 reasons why Twitter is losing relevance. Twitter is losing relevance because it's no longer growing, because it's losing money, and because its rivals are increasing. So, to tie it all back, the loss of revenue for Twitter has led to less workers, which means less workers gives you less research and development. Less research and development means less features. And with less features, that means that users will go over to other social media outlets, and that will give them more users, which means more revenue dollars, which means kind of just leads all to Twitter becoming the next MySpace. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. What was the time?
3:54.
What'd you like?
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, Troy.
Hi, Troy.
I thought that your vocal tone was really comfortable up there, like it was easy to listen to, and then also that each of your points was really clear to me, like you made it clear at the beginning, and then as you went through, like it was obvious to me how each one built up to your argument that Twitter was losing relevance, so I thought you did a good job with that structure.
Thank you much.
Improvement?
Hi, I'm Sia.
Hi, Anthea.
I think the only improvement that I could give you would be that your point 1 and point 2 were very similar to each other. So kind of when you outline them where like no longer growing, losing money, and the rivals are growing, like when I heard that initially, like, well, those three things kind of like a logical conclusion of each other. And so I would suggest like either you expand on each of them more to make them like distinct points, or like combine more of them and like talk about other differences.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Let me start out with a positive comment. Philip, oh, there's one more.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Philip. I'm noticing you're doing this the whole time. And you seem to me like you were really tense and nervous up there. So next time when you go up there, just try to relax and just let your hands be, and you just focus on using your voice and not your
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you'll see that tonight on YouTube. Yeah. Philip.
3 minutes.
Okay, Philip. I feel you begged the question because the question was, is Twitter losing relevance? And you didn't really tell us why. You told us they're losing money, and you told us that their revenue is down, and the other people are growing. But you didn't tell us why Twitter is losing its relevance per se until the very end when you said they've lost workers, so they can't have new features. So, but that was asserted. I didn't get any evidence on that or any good analysis on that, so I needed to have that. 3 walks. Can you move these chairs over to out of the? They're screwing up the walking too. Can you move them way back there, so we have a clear. Yeah. Thank you so much. So your intro and your tieback, since its conception in 2006, Twitter has changed the way we live, interact, and consume information. Is that a poem, a quote, a story, an observation? What was that? Just an observation. And how did we tie back to that in the ending? In 2006, I didn't really see that, so I wanted to see a poem, a quote, a story, or something about planned obsolescence or something better. Your thesis was, okay. I needed to hear it 1, 2, 3 a little bit clearer. Losing money, not growing, losing money, rivals are growing, 3 points. And why is this significant? Why is this significant to the audience? I wasn't really impressed with it. You said, are quickly trying to find the trends so they can be first in advertising, but I didn't really sell this speech to the audience, and that's what a significant statement was supposed to be. I agree with NC. How much time do I have? 1 minute?
Yes.
Longer and losing money was the same thing. Come back to center for your final point. Don't end up on the left. Go left, right, and then back to center for your whole point. Like to see better citation, including the date. So, and with your voice, say TechCrunch in 2017, because you did have recent evidence. CSNBC in April of 2017. So say it real loud so it really booms out so we know you've got great evidence. Other than that, good job. Thank you, Philip. Okay. Let's hear from Steve, Kim, and Elsie. Get ready to run up there.
I need a timer.
Who? Oh, yeah. Where's your outline? Rock and roll, Mr. Kim. Don't come in front of that brown box. Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Kim.
They say the only thing scarier than a fierce beast, is a scary, fierce beast. So with this in mind, I would like to answer the question, is North Korea going to launch its nuclear warhead this year? Before continuing, I would like to interpret launching a nuclear warhead as preemptively striking a country with its nuclear weapon. This is important because North Korea has already tested its nuclear weapon, rendering this question insignificant, and already has the answer. So, North Korea will not launch its nuclear warhead this year for these 3 reasons. 1, deployment of THAAD is a huge deterrent. 2, nuclear program is just a facade for North Korean political rhetoric. 3, a mutually assured destruction doctrine is still in play. This discussion is important because the tensions in the Korean Peninsula is increasing, and Obama administration has seen 61 ICBM and short-range missile tests by North Korea, and Trump administration will likely to see more, according to Center for Strategic and International Studies on September 2017. So the first reason is the deployment of terminal high altitude area defense is a huge deterrent for North Korea. So what THAAD is an anti-ballistic missile system that allows the United States to convey and observe a real-time activity of North Korean missile system. So this can lead to this huge, according to Easley 2016. So this means several things. With suspicious activities in North Korea, the United States has the capability to strike down its nuclear weapons before they launch, and even intercept its nuclear weapons using its, although primitive, anti-missile defense system. So the second point is that North Korea is using its nuclear program as a political facade. According to Easley 2016, North Korea is might be betting that the United States will change its position in favor of North Korea owning nuclear program. It may sound outrageous, however, this has happened before. In 2001, United States withdrew its sanctions on India for testing its nuclear weapons in 1998, and in 2008, the United States also further weakened its sanctions on India for its anti-nuclear India program. Furthermore, the United States also never approved of Israel owning nuclear weapons, but due to the tensions in the Middle East, the United States just had to live with it, allowing Israelis to have its own nuclear arsenal. That's according to Bulletin for Atomic Scientists, 2016. So my final point is mutually assured destruction is still in play. Mutually assured destruction is a doctrine that prevented global apocalypse during the Cold War. So in simpler terms, it says, if you nuke me, I will nuke you right back, leaving total annihilation on both sides. So the United States still considers China and Russia as its nuclear threats, meaning that the United States is well prepared for nuclear war scenario, according to International Journal 2015. So with Matt still present, North Korea will not launch its nuclear warhead this year because the United States is well prepared to launch its nuclear missiles back to North Korea immediately, leaving nothing but total destruction, according to Philadelphia Tribune from 2017. Although MAD is still in play, maybe some strategic adjustment could be made due to President Trump being more threatening, and Kim Jong-un being even more irrational than President Trump is. But MAD is still in play, and therefore North Korea will not launch its nuclear missiles. So in summary, North Korea will not launch its nuclear warhead this year because deployment of THAAD. 2, it's just a political facade. 3, mutually assured destruction is still in play. North Korea is with North Korea in the nuclear club. It's becoming a beast, and we all realize that. However, the beast is only scary for the lesser fit or the weak. With the nations like the United States, and the organizations like the United Nations and NATO, North Korea will not be able to actually fulfill its threats and will continue to flex its muscles through these hollow, empty threats. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What'd you like? What was the time?
5:10.
5:10. Good. What was it? What did you like? Quickly.
Hi guys, my name is Mitchell.
Hi, Mitchell.
You spoke with a lot of conviction. It sounded like you really believed what you were talking about. It made it easy for me, and I assume the rest of the audience to also believe what you were talking about. I was also very structured, and I thought it was pretty easy to follow.
Hi, I'm Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hi. I thought it was really good. I think you could like work on the fluidity, just like transitioning between points, and I think that would come with like ditching the flashcards.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to look and you get a little lost. But overall, I thought it was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's start on a positive note. You very clearly answered the question, will North Korea launch a nuclear warhead this year? And you very clearly said no, and you gave some pretty defensible reasons why you believe the answer was no. So thank you for answering the question. We don't always see the question get answered, so that was good. I would like you to work on your delivery. Try to say less, slow down, have some vocal variety, make a stronger point, use abbreviations after you defined it. You can call it THAAD, you can call it MAD, you know, and after you've defined it, then people know what you're talking about. You can go ahead and use it. Also, please, when you do an outline for me, include the Roman numerals and say what they are so you remember what you're supposed to be doing. Your introduction said, they say the only thing scarier than a fierce beast is a scared fierce beast. Today I want to answer the question, will North Korea launch a nuclear warhead this year? Was that a poem, a quote, a story, a joke, or a rhetorical question?
It was a quote.
It was a quote. Where was it from?
It was just from a TV show.
Oh, a TV show. Okay, well, let's say where we got our quote from. You had some good sources which you just gave like easily in 2017 or 2016. If they're professors or scholars, try to indicate that to boost up their credibility a little bit. And who was this? Who's this David Andelman writing in the Philadelphia Inquirer? It would have a little bit more cachet than just the Philadelphia Inquirer, just a little op-ed piece. Who knows who was saying what? I also would think, I don't know if maybe you don't believe in it, but this whole notion of you know, the negotiations going on in China putting pressure on, maybe you don't believe in any of that or think it's going to work or something, but China has been putting some pressure on North Korea, and so perhaps that will yield some fruit, and so maybe that will be. Of all your points, I wasn't sure that about the political strategy. I thought your MAD point and THAAD were the best of the two. Overall, good job. Did you have a set? You should always have a set of 3 goals you want to set. Are they in the rear or in the front or in the back or right there at the bottom you wrote them? Be persuasive. Look up. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about your eye contact. Look all around and make 3 to 5 seconds of eye contact. And I can't keep consistent grace.
Just keep like my speech flow. I thought it was a little longer than 5 minutes. And it was.
Yeah, and it was, and it was kind of choppy. So, nice job, Steve. Yes?
Someone got added to the list. Do you want me to readjust the timing?
Yeah.
You
Readjust
want it to
the
be
time.
more rushed?
Yeah, more rush. Okay, let's go. Who added themselves to the time? Let's go.
I'm right here.
Okay, who's Sumana, okay. Why don't you sit up there in that chair so you're closer? Yeah, she can have your chair.
Oh, okay.
You can trade seats with her, yeah. You've been evicted. Good, there, you can sit there. Thank you. Okay, rock and roll, please, quickly.
Can you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of countdown?
Okay.
Because I highly doubt I will go on that.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
Hi, I'm Elise.
Hi, Elise.
According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, in 2015, 24 people were displaced every minute. And that is the highest number they've ever seen in the history of the UNHCR. Today I'm going to answer the question, should nations do more to help refugees? And I say yes, because 1, they're not trying to accept more to meet the high demand for asylum. 2, refugee camps and border camps have bad conditions. And 3, there are so many refugees now, and that number will only grow. But why should you care? Just put yourself in these people's shoes. These people have been forced from their homes due to violence, persecution, natural disasters, and imagine leaving your home for one of those reasons. It would be horrible. So the first reason is that they're not trying to do more to accept the high number of people who are applying for asylum. They're not pledging enough. According to Extemp Publishing, in the Syrian refugee crisis, the world promised to pledge 2% of the Syrian refugees. But to put that into perspective, Turkey pledged, and they actually accepted 3 times more of those people from September 1st to September 14th, 2014. And that is a crazy number, and the world needs to pledge more and also accept more. They also are not accepting enough. According to the Migration Policy Institute in 2017, in 2016, the U.S. accepted 84,000 refugees, and that's an amazing number, but President Trump's executive order preventing foreign terrorist entry into the United States pledged only 50,000 refugees it will take, which is a 50% reduction. It will greatly hurt people, especially if they have more refugees. The second reason of refugee and border camps have deplorable conditions. They are unsafe. They lack sanitation and services. According to Doctors Without Borders in 2013, there is rampant disease and malnourishment in these camps. And according to the United Nations Development Program in 2009, there is gender and sexual violence, especially in these camps, because they have a lack of infrastructure. During the Georgia-Russian War in 2008, there were people who were actually leaving the Georgian camps and going back into their occupation by Russia in order to find jobs, because they have no jobs, they have no money, and they have no food. They're also increasingly necessary. Time said in 2017, Canada has begun opening border camps because there's a high influx of refugees into Canada, especially Haitian refugees and people who have been affected by DACA because they're afraid of deportation. So a lot of people think it's easy to go to Canada, but Canada doesn't even want these refugees. The third reason is that the refugees are also growing. The United Nations High Commissioner of Refugees in 2017 said that refugees are coming from Africa, they're coming from Somalia, Sudan, and the Lake Chad Basin because of violence and malnourishment. They're coming from Afghanistan due to war and Taliban and occupation. And they're also coming from Syria due to the civil war and the ISIS crisis. ISIS has had serious terrorism, especially in that area. But there's also new crises, like the Rohingya crisis, which is in Myanmar/Burma, if some of you are familiar. And the Rohingya people are a Muslim minority group who are being persecuted because they're not of the majority, the religious majority, and nations aren't accepting them as well. There's also natural disaster refugees, especially because of the Hurricane Maria and all the increasing number of hurricanes and fires, and people are having to leave because of that. So in summary, I provided 3 reasons why nations should accept more refugees. And the first reason is that they're not trying to accept more refugees to meet the high demand for asylum. The second reason is that border camps and refugees have deplorable conditions. And the third reason is that there are so many refugees and the number is only growing. So in 2015, they had the highest number of refugees, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees found out why. They say, first, there are more conflicts. Second, these conflicts have a larger number of people coming from them. And third, we don't have solutions for what to do with these refugees. And if we try to fix the third reason, then maybe we don't have to focus on the political aspects. So the UNHCR said that if the nations pledged from 2% to 5% just in the Syrian refugee crisis, they could accept 180,000 more people, just alone from the Syrian refugee crisis if they met that pledge. So just to put it into perspective, just a little bit of help can go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What'd you like?
I thought you had like a really good flow, and you really.
What's your name?
Oh, sorry. Hi guys, my name's Philip.
Hi, Philip.
I think Elise did an amazing job. She spoke well. She moved well. She had really good eye contact. I feel like you didn't even really need the flashcards. You really knew what she did very well. Yeah.
Thank you, Philip. Improvement.
Steve.
Hi, Steve.
I thought that you could explain your points a little deeper, and you have, 40 seconds left, so I guess there's a time for that.
Okay, 2 minutes, I guess I have 2.5 minutes.
You actually still have 3.
Your intro was on what we call an arresting fact, which was 2016 evidence, which was good, according to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in 2015, quoted in 2016. An average of 24 people were displaced every minute. Say that with your voice, so it's really dramatic. So, and then repeat that statistic in the end and say, so if we're going to do something about it. And your solution was for us, every country, to take more in, and follow the example of Turkey. The country elected a leader that said we don't want to take more in, and he did just exactly what he said he was going to do. So you shouldn't be surprised by that. But you still could advocate stuff like, we could send more aid over there to improve these camps and to make more camps and better camps and things like that, so they don't have to come here. Your SIG statement was excellent, really well done. Some of your evidence was just a little dated, but mostly good.
I found some stuff this morning, but I didn't really have a chance.
Time to change it, okay. But it was mostly good. Deplorable conditions, yes. This is a good reason to have, and the conditions are deplorable. And it's growing, yes, and I appreciate your doing Burma. That's really a big and unknown problem, and so that shows you were digging and doing good research.
It's actually the research I based my entire college career on. So.
Oh, is that right? Okay, great. Well, good. 1 minute, did you say?
Yep.
Let's see what your kanais look like. A better tie back. Do you have your kanais here somewhere?
On the back.
On the very back. Okay, don't go over 5 minutes. Don't sway. And use pauses and inflections. How'd it go?
I was really surprised. I went under 5 minutes. I talked really fast, I think.
Yeah.
And I swayed a little bit. And I could use more.
And it's a minor thing, but try to come back to center for your third point. Be right in the center for that. But overall, this was a good job. And with your evidence citing and your date, with your voice, so that it really jumps out. Do a better job on that. But good job, Elise. Thank you. Okay, on deck. Troy! Come on down, Troy. Get in the hot
Can I
seat.
get a countdown from 5 minutes and then 30 seconds and then 10 seconds down?
Yes, you can.
Thanks.
Okay. Troy. Oh, you're sitting there? It's acceptable. No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, take a step that way, please. You're not in the center. Yes. That's good. Yes. Okay, Sumana is standing before you, managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hey guys, my name is Sumana. I'm going to be answering.
Hi, Sumana.
Hello. I'm going to be answering the question: should political parties support candidates who may not support key aspects of their party platform? George Santayana once said, "Those who refuse to accept the past and learn from it are condemned to repeat it." This line of thought not only applies to people in their day-to-day lives, but also to political parties, who must learn from the past to make sure their future campaigns are effective. That leads me to my question at hand. Should political parties support candidates who may not support key aspects of their party platform? I believe the answer to this question is a strong yes. And to understand why, first we're going to look at voter dynamics and their identities, then transition into party platforms and their current significance, and finally talk about voting habits that current voters have. Our first point today to understand why political parties should support those who may disagree with key parts of their party platforms is to understand the current day voter. A Pew Research poll says in 2014 that they released in May that only 39% of American people actually identify as independent voters. So that means close to 40% of the voting population doesn't identify with a major political party. This is devastating news for a major political party, and the question becomes, how do I get people to vote for my party as a whole? And the answer to this is to dig into the mind of an independent voter. They care more about the person, not the political party. Another Pew Research poll from 2017 stated that only 55% of the voting age population decided to cast a vote in last year's election. This is an abysmal voter turnout, and that's why this question is really important to us in this room. Political parties need to put people on the ticket that we want to vote for to increase overall voter turnout. The next point that we need to go into is, are political platforms even important to the current day voter? How many of you actually voted in last year's election? Now, how many of you read the political platforms of each party that had candidates on the ballot? That's not enough. If political platforms are truly significant to the voter, everyone who went out to vote should have been reading these platforms. But Jennifer Victoria, who's an adjunct professor of political science at George Mason University, reported on July 16, 2016, that from her research about political platforms, people are afraid to read these documents. They're over 50 pages long. And on top of that, past political candidates who have been really successful have been successful because they have strayed away from political platforms and have been fluid during their campaigns. They have responded to the voters' needs while they're on the road. That's what makes a candidate powerful to a voter. The fact that they're able to be fluid and that they're able to listen to the voter. Not that they're completely loyal to a 50-page document that not many people even read before going into the polls. And finally, we understand that it's also important to understand the habits of voters in America. According to an article by The Governing on July 14, 2016, it was stated that straight ticket voting has been on the decrease. Let's understand what is straight ticket voting. Straight ticket voting was defined by the National Conference of State Legislators on May 31st, 2017, that it's when you go down a ballot and just vote for a person basing on their party affiliation, not for the policies that they're going to put into action. This has been on the decline, and 5 states have actually removed this practice of allowing voters to do this since 2011. So more voters are keying in on the person on the platform, on the ticket, not the party itself or the platform that they stand for as a whole. So in conclusion, we've noticed that when we're analyzing the question of should political parties support candidates who may not agree with key aspects of the political platform, we first looked at who the voters are. Many people in America are now identifying as independent voters, so they don't tie themselves or give allegiance to an overall party. Then we looked at political platforms themselves. These are clunky old documents that many people don't even read before going to the polls. So what is their true significance to a candidate who's going to be more successful if they listen to people on the road and are more fluid to their needs? And finally, we looked at a popular habit that's been on the decline, straight ticket voting. It's no longer being allowed by many states in America, which is reflective of voters being more into the person, not the party. So, looking from the past, it seems that we need to understand that overall party platforms are not important to candidates. It's the person that's important. Thus, political parties should support them and their endeavors and have more successful campaigns in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you like?
516.
516.
Hi, I'm Colleen.
Hi, Colleen.
I think the way you presented your speech, like it was so easy to listen to, and you definitely knew what you were saying. So I think your tone and everything was really good.
Improvement.
Hi, I'm Angela.
Hi, Angela.
I thought it was really good and flew. One thing I would say is maybe put in there should be no doubt in this room that.
Yeah, your central thesis that they should support candidates even if they don't support their party platform. Your general thesis. Well,
I'll acknowledge my start was shaking.
you wanted to start with shaking?
No, I'll acknowledge that the way I started the speech in the beginning wasn't as organized as I would have liked it to be.
Okay, well, good. I'm sorry about that. Sumana, you started with the George Santayana quote. So I was looking for that in the ending for people that, don't study history, repeat its mistakes, and so I didn't hear it, so I would have liked a better tie back. That was a great quote, and so a better tie back would have been excellent. You took a clear stand. You gave us a good roadmap. You gave us a good significant statement, a tad long, but it was good. It was well suited to these people here in the room. On your first point, you cited Pew. You fully cited your evidence. You said Jennifer Victor, an associate professor at George Mason, so you fully cited your evidence. I was very pleased about that. The one thing about the show of hands, be careful about shaming your audience. That's why it wasn't enough, you bums. Enough you didn't vote, you bums, or enough you didn't read the platform. That's not enough. So don't shame your audience, your goals. Make quality eye contact, don't speak too fast, and make sure your pace is proper around the room. How'd it go?
I think I started talking a bit fast towards the end because I was starting to get worried about the time. But other than that, I was happy with what happened.
Yeah, I'm looking for you to, if I had time, I'd have you practice the 3 to 5 second eye contact drill. We don't have the time, but when you practice with a live person, pretend that's a person, this is a person, and go the full 5 seconds and then move on to a new person. You weren't making long eye contact with people, but a really excellent job. You're very credible. You knew your stuff. You sound like a poli-sci major, which is be careful about that because you don't want to come off like a policy wonk. You want to make this, acceptable to non-political science people. Okay? Thank you. Okay, and on deck would be Candace Bergman. Which reminds me, I gotta call Candace.
This directly follows.
What time is it? Oh shit. Okay, rock and roll. She's in the hot seat.
Good to go?
No, you're tall.
I just like my head cut off.
Yeah, you want your head cut off. Yeah, okay. Oh!